Okay, so a year later than planned, the big day has arrived. The 2021 Rugby League World Cup has kicked off. England were playing Samoa at St James's Park in Newcastle. Over 40,000 attended the game, which is just finished, so not quite capacity. So there was a few empty seats, which is a little bit disappointing, considering it's the opening match of the tournament. But what a match it was! On paper, Samoa go in favourites. Look at the quality in that lineup. It's basically an NRL team minus one player in Danny Levi, who's been playing over here in the Super League for the last couple of seasons. Is pretty much an NRL team. Half the team pretty much are based at the Penrith Panthers, and I think 9 players in total played in the NRL Grand Final that we saw a couple of weeks ago, with some Parramatta players in that squad. But the scoreline has actually stunned me. I was actually very, very surprised how the second half became a blowout. First half, ironically, the scoreline I think is a fair reflection. I think England were the better side. In the first half, it was 18-6 at half time. It has finished 60 points to 6. That is a complete blowout. The only Samoan try comes from an intercept, and there was a brief 10-minute period where Samoa actually, looked like they could get back in the game, maybe pull off a comeback. 10 minutes, 70, 75 minutes, England with a better side by a country mile, and there was 17 minutes where Samoa did not have a single attacking set, because the only time they would touch the ball was to kick off. So the last 17 minutes, they completely surrendered. The arm wrestle to begin with, England win that arm wrestle for momentum and a little bit of territory, but they have 2 disallowed tries. It's not until the first try on 22 minutes that we really see England really start to assert that dominance. So for a quarter of the match, it is an arm wrestle. There's only 1 penalty, and then the floodgates open in the second half. So, looking at it, Herbie Farnworth's disallowed try. Yes, there was an obstruction in the build-up. Yes, a penalty was eventually given. They don't score off that. That was only after 4 minutes. Now, Herbie Farnsworth, in my opinion, was the man of the match. However, the TV broadcasters have gone with Victor Radley, and we can discuss his inclusion in the England side over the Australian side at length if we wish. But Victor Radley, I don't think, had that much of an impact on the game. Herbie Farnsworth, in my opinion, had a much bigger impact with his ball carrying and his defence. And his link-up play with the other outside backs. But he has a try disallowed in 4 minutes. There is an obstruction in the build-up. So it's just giving possession back to England. So Makinson slots the penalty on 5 minutes. It's 2-0. The Tom Burgess disallowed try on 12 minutes. Just ball handling. It is a greasy pitch. There was rain before kickoff, and there was rain in various points during the match. Greasy ball makes it a bit harder to handle, but with his driving run, he should score that. That is a sloppy moment. But Suaalii, Joseph Suaalii, he is a young superstar in the NRL. He did not look comfortable staying at fullback. He has been playing on the wing and in reserve grade before he was brought up to the NRL by the Sydney Roosters. He was actually playing at right centre. He's played limited minutes in first grade at fullback. He did not look comfortable. He looked very, very nervous. He did have some flashes going forward in attack, but his handling was poor, and defensively he was poor. He got away with one with that Tom Burgess disallowed try. He did try and, however, kick the ball out of Tom Burgess's hands. Just Tom Burgess's poor ball control for that one. The Jack Welsby tries is where England finally click with their spine players and their outside backs all together clicking. Welsby had a massive impact on this game. If it wasn't, personally, Farnworth, I think, for me, was the best English player on the pitch, but Jack Welsby's a close second. He scores 1 try, creates 2 more in the first half. Second half as well, he creates. It's great link-up play with the spine players. His halves partner George Williams, Sam Tompkins, who I do criticise quite regularly when I've seen him play, because I do think sometimes he can be a bit one-dimensional. However, today, I think with the way you've got a good young talented spine and you have some very young talented outside backs, there's a little bit less focus put on Sam Tompkins, but the build-up play between the spine and the outside backs, that's a brilliant try. They break the defensive line. Makinson kicking masterclass from the tee, only missed 1 conversion all game. Dominic Young's 2 tries. The passes from Welsby for the final pass are duplicates for the first try on 25 minutes and the second try on 29 minutes. The first try, I think, is the better of the 2 tries, because Dom Young has a lot of work to do. He has to beat defenders. He has to break tackles, and he has to run a good 30-35 metres, if you count the little bit on the angle, to break a tackle, to get over the line. Again, Suaalii, he's not a first-grade fullback. He is a first-grade winger or centre. So defensively, some of his positioning, not great. He was clearly lacking a bit of confidence. His handling skills had let him down. Maybe the conditions did play a part. Maybe Samoa, obviously, a lot of those Samoan players have obviously played in NRL finals, not a short turnaround time, very long physical NRL season. He did not look comfortable today at fullback. Dom Young has skinned him, scores a great first try, Makerson converts. The only kick Makerson misses is Dom Young's second try. But again, Wellesby, the pass is a carbon copy, mispass, bullet of a pass, because what we've seen in the last couple of years is what they call the Harbour Bridge pass, where they go over the top of the on-rushing defence. No, just straight in front of of Callum Watkins, straight into Dominic Young's hands. The finish is fantastic. And bear in mind, Dominic Young, he has been playing on a poor Newcastle Knights team and still scoring a lot of tries, nearly a try per game kind of player. He gets 2 today. But if this World Cup takes place last year, he's playing in the Jamaica squad without a shadow of a doubt. He's nowhere near the England side. And he was still debating in the build-up to this tournament whether to choose Jamaica or England. I think it's, for the England side, it's a good choice. He's obviously chosen to play for them. I think for a rugby league point of view, it might have been a better choice for him to choose Jamaica. However, I'm very thankful as an England fan that he's an England player today. In that first half, Samoa did use their captain's challenge on 15 minutes, so there was a few maybe decisions later on where they could have tried to swing some momentum back their way. Wasn't to be, but then the game gets back into the arm wrestle again after Dominic Young's second try. And I think England are comfortable. But what we saw in 2017, they were in a similar position against Tonga in that semi-final, and their second half performance was poor, and they didn't have that killer instinct. They showed today they had that killer instinct. Now, Isaac Tago's try, Wellesby is trying to find Dominic Young for a third time for a third try. This time, Tago has realised, I'm going to push up. He's not doing the Harbour Bridge star pass over the top, because Tago is a slightly shorter centre. He's doing the bullet pass. So I'm going to run onto that bullet pass, and it's brilliant intercept try. Stephen Crichton converts. That's on 34 minutes. Stephen Crichton himself has a disallowed try. Again, handling skills. Yes, it's wet and greasy. He bounces the ball. Stephen Crichton is a very, very good player. He's played in 3 NRL Grand Finals in a row. He's won 2 of them. Slightly disappointed with Stephen Crichton. And that is the moment where you think, hang on a second, this Samoa side could find something. On paper, they are a better team. However, they were a team of individuals for 80 minutes. They have Luai in the halves was invisible in the second half. He is one of the best number 6s in the game right now. He did look a little bit lost with Anthony Milford as his 7, and Milford had a poor kicking game, poor distribution game. And Anthony Milford, yes, he's had a lot of injury problems and personal issues, and he hasn't really nailed down a spot in the NRL in recent years. His time at Brisbane started off well and became a bit disastrous. He has been a Dally M halfback, fullback medalist winner, but the last few years of his career has gone all over the place. He hasn't been playing well. That showed today. Luai obviously not having Cleary alongside him. New halves partner. He's had new halves partners this season with Penrith when Cleary's not been available for selection, but that combination didn't work at all. When you've got Harris Tavita in your squad, I think Harris Tavita starts the next game in the halves, personally. There's also some injury news which we'll get to later. So at half-time, it's 18-6. It's the second half, which we're going to look at, which just gets ridiculous. So Callum Watkins finally gets his try. He rolled back the years today. He was very influential in his centre position, although I thought Farnsworth had a bigger impact on the game. Callum Watkins, however, kept breaking tackles, kept running. His try in 49 minutes was fantastic. Makinson gets another penalty following the Milford sin bin. So after Watkins tries, Samoa are still in the game. Their handling skills, there's a spell where their handling is poor. They're knocking on the ball. They've used their captain's challenge. So if they felt there was a stripping action or it's a deliberate foul play in there, they can't challenge, obviously, Ashley Klein's on-field decision. That was a mistake using it after 14 minutes. The Milford sin bin, deserved. I've seen straight send-offs given for that. I think because Sam Tompkins gets straight back up and doesn't have to go for a head injury assessment or leaves the field injured, I think that's what reduces it to a sin bin. I know it's 2 smaller players going man on man, and it's not a big forward flattening a halfback or a fullback or two centres who are quite more sizable, knocking each other out, pretty much taking each other out. I think there's a slight hint of a shoulder charge in there because there's no wrapping action with his arms. He does hit him late. Thankfully, it's not. If he hits him in the head, I think he is gone for the game. That's the moment where Samoa surrender, and that is actually that moment. From then on, Samoa, the only time they touch the ball is for kickoffs. They never have another set. They just finish their set. England midway through their set, and it is it's a standard Tompkins pass. The fullback's coming to the line. He's trying to get Farnworth and Makinson involved in the play. Makinson's actually the winger who receives the pass. It's a good couple of seconds late. No, he might even get a suspension for that if they decide to cite him and send him towards the disciplinary committee. Yes, action was taken on the field, but he could cop a suspension as well. We shall see what happens. Makinson slots the penalty. And now Samoa don't touch the ball apart from kick the ball off. Farnworth gets his try in 65 minutes. Elliot Whitehead gets 2 tries literally moments apart on 69 minutes and 71 minutes. Elliot Whitehead had a very good game as captain, great leader. Obviously, I'm a Canberra Raiders fan, so I want to see him do very, very well. He did do very, very well. He's really come of age the last couple of years as a leader with Canberra as well. Captain's performance. Constantly, he had a good communication with Ashley Klein as the ref as well. He played really, really well. Makinson finally gets his try. He was brilliant today in attack on 73 minutes. George Williams, that's another fantastic try. Again, Wellesby and Williams, that's a good little halfback combination. Yes, his time in the NRL ended on a bit of a awkward note. Some people questioning his attitude, questioning his focus. He hasn't had the best season back here in the Super League since he's returned from the Canberra Raiders. However, he played he looked happy today, he looked positive today. He did like to do the little chip kicks a lot, and some of his kick options in the first half and past the second half I wasn't totally sure on. But his support play running for Wellesby's try and his support play running for his own try, that's a good little halves combination that I think England can definitely work on. It had a very positive, they had a good start with their combination. They can only get better. And then Tom Burgess finally gets his try, considering in the first half he basically dropped the ball over the line. Finally gets his try right on the stroke of full time to make it a 60-6 win. The only reason why Samoa actually have a try is because of an intercept. So basically, Samoa could have been was kept to 0 today. Really surprised by how poor Samoa were. I know a lot of their players played in the grand final for both Parramatta and Penrith, and I know a lot of their other players also played quite late into the final series. So with the English teams having a slightly earlier finish to their season, and the English players looked fresher. I know Herbie Farnsworth, for example, hasn't played for half a season through injury. He looked like, fresh as a daisy. The England players look more rested. They look more comfortable on the ball. They look more comfortable in the conditions, which there was rain before the match. There was rain during the match. Ball handling. Samoa they lacked leadership. They lacked direction. And now we'll look at the injuries. Hamlin Uele looks like a calf strain. Hopefully it's not serious. Tabido Fidel, the hammer, that's a leg break apparently. Thankfully, he hobbled off the field and didn't have to require a stretcher, but it looks like a possible broken leg. And Tyrone Main looks like either a hip fracture, hip break, or hip dislocation. If it's a hip dislocation, he's in serious trouble. Hairline fractures, that may rule him out completely for the rest of the tournament, although it depends how bad the fracture is. If it's a pelvic break, again, that's quite serious, but can heal up quicker than the dislocation. That looked quite serious. Had to leave on a stretcher. Didn't look pleasant. So Samoa also have some injury concerns going forward. I think they ran out of interchanges because another player Tuolagi went for an HIA head injury assessment and did not return to play. But I think it was less than 10 minutes remaining. So they ran out of players on the bench. So that's a bit concerning. Yes, they play Greece next, and yes, they are expected to win. But on that performance, they looked bereft of confidence. They looked shell-shocked, and they didn't look like they really worked on their combinations. I don't think fitness is an issue. Match fitness, maybe a little bit of fatigue, possibly from a lot of their players finishing their seasons a little bit later. Attitude, combinations, and they look like a team of individuals, so leadership as well. And those 3 injuries Helmut Newell is a leader. He's a leader at Cronulla. Taberno Fidel, I would have had him at fullback over Suoliti, who I would have had in the centres or on the wing. Tyrone May, he's a utility. He comes on for Taberno Fidel, the hammer, and he goes off with a very serious injury as well. Hopefully, they're not as serious as they look, although possible broken leg, possible broken or dislocated pelvis, and a calf strain of some kind for Hamlin Newelly. So there we go. Victor Adley was voted man of the match, although my choice would be Herbie Farnsworth. And Samoa did not have a set in play or touch the ball, ball in hand from the 63rd minute until full time. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. What did you make of the first match of the World Cup? And of course, we've got Australia versus Fiji later on this evening as I'm recording this video in a couple of hours' time. Thank you very much for watching. As I say, please place your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll have some more content for you very, very soon.